I could feel the tension creeping in, thick as smoke, as Rachel stood across from me in the kitchen, hands on her hips, glaring. She'd been going on for a while about some shopping spree she'd just come back from, how she deserved it, and how I just wouldn't understand. I had heard enough. "Seriously, Rachel, you spend like we're swimming in cash," I said, running a hand through my hair, trying to stay calm. "Oh, please," she scoffed, rolling her eyes. "You're just mad 'cause you can't keep up. Newsflash, Greg. I could replace you in 24 hours if I wanted to." The words hit me like a punch to the gut, and my brain went into overdrive. A part of me wanted to say something smart, like prove it, but another part of me, the part that was getting so damn tired of everything, decided it was time to stop pretending. "Prove it," I shot back, no hesitation, no second thoughts. Rachel's face twisted into a smug smile. "Oh, I will," she said, stepping closer. "You're pathetic. No one else would put up with you." That was it. I'd had enough. I grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair, the anger bubbling up. "Fine. You want me gone? I'll go." She smirked as I grabbed my bag, the smugness in her voice rising. "You'll be back in a day, Greg. No one's gonna deal with you. Not even Emma." That name stopped me in my tracks. Emma, Rachel's best friend. She'd been quiet during our whole relationship, always in the background. But for some reason, her name stung more than Rachel's insults. Just as I was walking out the door, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a message from Emma. "Stay with me tonight. You're better off away from her." My door's open. I froze. Emma had never once made a move on me, never hinted at anything. But this felt like a lifeline. I stood frozen for a second, staring at my phone, unsure if this was real. Emma, Rachel's best friend, was offering me a place to stay. My mind was racing as I pressed my thumb on the screen and typed out a quick reply. "Thanks. I'll be there soon." By the time I got to Emma's apartment, it was a little past 9. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I wasn't expecting the soft, laid-back vibe that hit me when she opened the door. She was wearing an oversized hoodie, her hair pulled up in a messy bun. It was nothing like the perfect, polished image Rachel always raved about. No high heels, no flawless makeup, no designer anything. Just Emma, looking like she had been living her life without trying to impress anyone. "Hey, come in," she said, stepping aside and letting me through. I followed her into the living room, which was cozy in that way only a place that feels lived in can be. "Thanks for this," I muttered, not sure what else to say. Emma just nodded, her eyes a little softer than usual, like she knew exactly how broken I felt. She gestured to the couch. "Sit down. Want something to drink?" I shook my head. "Nah, I'm good." We both sat in silence for a while, just the sound of the refrigerator humming in the background. It felt strange, not the comfortable silence I was used to around Rachel, but one that was heavier. Emma finally broke it. "You okay?" she asked, her voice low but steady. I laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "Does it look like I'm okay?" She gave me a small, sympathetic smile. "Fair enough." I ran a hand over my face, suddenly feeling exhausted. I don't even know what happened. One minute we were fine, and then Emma waited patiently, her eyes calm but attentive. It was a relief, honestly. I didn't have to pretend like everything was fine. "She's been like that for a while, hasn't she?" Emma asked, leaning forward just slightly, her tone soft but firm. "Manipulative. Controlling." I nodded. "Yeah. I didn't see it, you know? Or maybe I didn't want to. But the last couple months, something felt off." Emma's gaze sharpened for a second, like she was considering something. She stood up without a word, walked over to the coffee table, and grabbed her phone. She came back, sat down, and handed it to me. "What's this?" I asked, confused. "Look through it," she said quietly. I hesitated but took the phone. The screen was filled with screenshots of texts from Rachel. I scrolled through them, and the more I read, the sicker I felt. Rachel's messages were all about keeping me around as a backup, how she was still looking for someone better, but didn't want to be alone in the meantime. There were messages talking about how I didn't bring enough to the table, how I didn't measure up to some guy she met at a bar. But the worst part? There was one where she straight up said, "If Greg gets in my way, I can just get rid of him. I'll find someone new by tomorrow." My stomach dropped. I felt like I had just been slapped across the face. I didn't know," I said quietly, more to myself than to Emma. My hands shook slightly as I passed the phone back to her. Emma took the phone without a word, her expression unreadable. "You didn't know, but you knew. You always knew on some level. She kept you around for convenience. It was never about you. It was about her." I swallowed hard, feeling a sting in my chest, but also something else, relief. A sick relief. I had been living a lie, letting myself believe I was enough, that I meant something to Rachel. "God," I muttered, leaning back on the couch. "I feel like an idiot." "You're not an idiot," Emma said firmly. "You're human. You wanted to believe in the person you loved. Nothing wrong with that." But there was something in her eyes that made me feel like she wasn't just talking about Rachel. Like maybe she was talking about me too. And it made me wonder, maybe she had always known what I hadn't. I ran a hand through my hair, my thoughts a tangled mess. "I don't even know what to do now." Emma set her phone down and turned to me fully. "You take a step back. You let the truth sink in, and you start putting yourself first. You deserve better than her. Better than all of it." I looked at her, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I might be able to breathe again. Emma wasn't giving me some inspirational pep talk. She wasn't trying to sugarcoat anything. She was just real. And for the first time, I felt like maybe she wasn't just Rachel's friend anymore. Maybe she was something else. Something I hadn't been willing to see before. I spent the next few days in this weird, numb haze. The breakup was still fresh, but it felt like I was watching someone else's life unfold. Rachel didn't waste a minute. It was like she'd made a decision to prove me wrong, to show the world how quickly she could replace me. I wasn't surprised when Emma started texting me updates, though part of me didn't want to know. But the other part of me couldn't look away. Rachel's going full throttle on social media. Just posted a pic of her in a super low-cut dress. Captioned, "Who needs a man anyway?" I rolled my eyes, not even bothering to respond. The picture wasn't subtle. It was like she was trying to grab anyone's attention, desperate for validation, but I wasn't about to comment on it. 2 hours later, another text buzzed in. "She's all over the dating apps, flooding them. Hundreds of matches already." I snorted at that. Rachel wasn't shy about being seen, and now it was clear how much she needed the world to notice her. "Is she still pretending she's fine?" I asked Emma, half smiling at how ridiculous it all was. "Pretending? She's dying for people to know how over you she is. But the desperation is so thick you could cut it with a knife." I could hear Emma's dry humor in that, and it made me laugh even though part of me felt bad. I couldn't shake the feeling that Rachel's rapid-fire efforts were a little pathetic, a little sad. But I kept quiet, not saying much. Every time I saw Emma's updates, I felt a mix of amusement and pity, like watching someone set their own house on fire just to see if they could handle the heat. It didn't take long for Rachel's attempts to grow more absurd. I got another text from Emma about her disastrous date with some guy she'd met on one of the apps. She showed up in a full-on cat costume for a date. He was freaked out, but she's still convinced it's a quirky thing to do. I groaned, shaking my head. "She's... what? A cat?" "Yep. Full ears, whiskers, the whole thing." "You can't make this up," Emma replied, and I could almost hear the eye roll in her words. I laughed, but it wasn't happy. It was more like the kind of laugh you give when you realize the person you thought you knew has completely fallen apart. The next few days were a blur of updates from Emma, each one worse than the last. Rachel had been out on a string of awful dates. One guy who was only interested in talking about his goldfish collection. Another who kept trying to impress her with his extensive knowledge of tarot cards. A third who'd spent the entire evening trying to make her feel bad for ruining his chances at a career in finance. She went on a date last night with some guy who tried to sell her life insurance while ordering a burger. No joke. Couldn't help but chuckle at that. It felt like the universe was giving Rachel a giant karmic slap. Not that I enjoyed seeing her fail, but it was hard not to feel like she was getting what she deserved. Can't believe she thought she'd have it all figured out, I muttered, mostly to myself. Emma sent me a text. She didn't. But the ego's a hell of a thing. I couldn't argue with that. Rachel's ego had always been the biggest thing in the room, and now it was crumbling right in front of her. Every time I heard about another disastrous date or another ridiculous stunt she pulled, it hit me a little harder. Not because I cared anymore, but because I finally saw how much of a lie it all was. I'd been living in her shadow, trying to prove I was good enough, when all along, she was just out for herself. But as much as I felt like an idiot for staying so long, I couldn't help but feel a little bit of relief. This was Rachel in all her glory. Her bravado had never been more exposed. Emma and I kept up our sarcastic commentary over the next few days, but it was clear Rachel wasn't handling it well. Her posts became more frantic. The photos of her out at bars, trying to look carefree, turned into even more desperate pleas for attention. It was like she couldn't stop digging herself into a deeper hole, even though the whole world was watching. She's a train wreck, but at least she's entertaining, Emma texted me one afternoon, and for once I didn't feel the need to answer, because it was true. Rachel was entertaining in the way you can't look away from a disaster. But watching it unfold didn't sting anymore. In fact, the more I saw of her, the more I realized how little I actually missed. In the back of my mind, I couldn't stop wondering, how did I get so wrapped up in this? But that was the past. And right now, I didn't need to think about it. I had a front row seat to Rachel's unraveling, and honestly, I was starting to find a strange sense of peace in it. Rachel's bravado was finally crumbling, and I couldn't help but think, this was the real her, and I didn't need to be part of it anymore. It didn't take long for Rachel to escalate. Every day, it felt like she was sinking lower and lower, and all I could do was watch from a distance. Her posts on social media went from upbeat and confident to straight-up desperate. She started flooding her feed with tear-streaked selfies, captions about heartbreak and betrayal, like she was trying to rewrite the story and make herself the victim. But the thing was, I wasn't buying it. Neither was Emma. Rachel started texting me too, but it wasn't just one number. It was like she had a whole team of fake accounts set up. Her messages ranged from begging for forgiveness to accusing me of being the one who ruined everything. I was trying to help you, Greg. I didn't deserve this. You can't just throw everything we had away. Please just come back. We can fix this. I didn't reply, not a single word. Each text made me feel more disgusted, like she couldn't even own up to the fact that she was the one who pushed me away. She just wanted control, wanted to make it all seem like I was the bad guy. Instead of dealing with her chaos, I spent more time with Emma. She kept me grounded, and despite everything Rachel was throwing at me, it was clear Emma wasn't trying to rush into anything. She was patient, not pushing me, just letting me take it one day at a time. You don't have to rush anything, Greg, she told me one night as we sat on her couch, the quiet of the apartment settling around us. I know you're not ready for a new relationship, and I'm not asking you to be, but I am here, whenever you're ready. I wasn't sure what I was ready for, but her calm presence was a huge relief. I could just be me around her. No expectations, no drama. Just two people hanging out, talking, not pretending to be something we weren't. As the days dragged on, Rachel's public breakdowns became more frequent. She was out at bars, crying to anyone who would listen, posting live videos about how heartbroken she was. One night, I saw a post where she was holding a glass of wine in one hand and wiping her eyes with the other, captioned, "When you realize the one person you thought would always be there is gone, it was a train wreck." And I couldn't look away, even though I didn't want to be a part of it anymore. Rachel was trying so hard to make people pity her, to make it look like I had wronged her. I couldn't believe how far she was willing to go, how little self-awareness she had. Then, just as things were reaching their peak, I got a message from Emma. "She's lost it. Full meltdown. You should see the stuff she's posting now. She's out at that stupid bar again, crying, talking about how you were her everything. You should see the drama she's stirring up in the comments." I shook my head, not responding. There was nothing to say. I already knew how this was going to go. A few hours later, as if on cue, Rachel posted another photo. This time, it was a close-up of her face. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, her eyes red. She tagged me in it even though I hadn't been involved in any of this. I stared at the photo, then closed my phone. I wasn't going to be part of her circus anymore. That night, Emma and I went out for dinner, just the two of us. We laughed over a burger, and for the first time in days, I felt like I could finally breathe. I didn't have to look over my shoulder or worry about Rachel's latest meltdown. I could focus on something real. After we finished eating, Emma took a picture of us together. I wasn't even thinking about it when she posted it to her Instagram. She added a simple caption, "Here's to new beginnings." It wasn't a grand statement. It wasn't about sending a message or showing anyone anything. It was just two people enjoying each other's company. But when Rachel saw it, I knew it would be the final straw. She couldn't handle being replaced, even by someone like Emma, who had always been in her shadow. I didn't think much about it at first, but the next morning, my phone blew up with messages. Rachel's friends, her followers, were commenting on Emma's post, sending me angry DMs, telling me I was a piece of shit for moving on so quickly. Some of them were even calling Emma a homewrecker, as if this was all her fault. But I didn't care anymore. Emma wasn't the problem. Rachel was, and I was done with the lies. I didn't bother responding to the messages. Instead, I spent the day with Emma, talking, laughing, enjoying the space between the chaos. Rachel's breakdowns weren't my responsibility anymore. She'd made her own bed. I felt this quiet, growing sense of relief, like a weight was finally lifting off my shoulders. Rachel had given me a 24-hour challenge, and now it was over. And as much as she tried to make it about her, I knew it was about me now, about moving on, about finding something real, even if that meant just finding peace. Rachel had lost, and I was starting to win. It didn't take long for Rachel to kick things into overdrive. She wasn't just having a meltdown anymore. Now she was on a mission, to make sure the whole world knew that I, and Emma by association, were the ones who had ruined her life. At first, it started with a few angry, rambling posts, but then it spiraled. She accused me of cheating, of being a liar, of abandoning her when she needed me the most. And then, of course, there was Emma. Rachel claimed that Emma had been stalking me, manipulating me into leaving her, spreading rumors behind her back. The thing that stung the most? Rachel claimed Emma was trying to sabotage her life. Like Emma, of all people, was the one out to get her. It was insane. But I didn't respond. Couldn't. There was nothing left to say. I could feel it in my gut. Though, the anxiety of seeing the posts flood my phone, her lies and accusations splattering all over my feed. Emma wasn't fazed by it, though. Not even a little. Every time Rachel posted something, Emma would shoot me a quick text. Something like, "It's just noise, Greg. Don't let it get to you." It didn't get to me, at least not the way I thought it might. I didn't feel the need to fight back or defend myself. The longer Rachel's posts went on, the more I realized the truth was becoming undeniable. She could say whatever she wanted, but everyone could see her for what she was. The arrogance, the control, the manipulation, it was all out there now. "Don't waste your time on her, Greg," Emma said one night, as we sat on the couch, just the two of us. She handed me a glass of wine, her expression calm as always. "She's digging herself deeper. Let her." I stared down at the glass, letting her words sink in. Rachel was drowning in her own mess, and there was no way to save her. No way to make her see that she was the one who pushed me away. She wasn't the victim. She was the architect of her own destruction. "Yeah," I said, finally taking a sip of the wine. "I guess I've spent so much time defending her. I didn't realize I didn't need to anymore." Emma nodded. "You didn't, and you don't." I leaned back against the couch, closing my eyes for a moment. Rachel's world was crashing down, and I was standing outside of it, watching it all burn. It was hard not to feel a little bit of guilt, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized I didn't owe her anything. She had built this chaos. She had refused to see anything outside of her own ego, her own desires. "Do you ever think about how we got here?" I asked, keeping my voice low, almost to myself. Emma didn't hesitate. "Yeah, all the time, but I think it's better to focus on where you're going. Where we're going. I looked over at her. She wasn't just saying it for me, she was saying it for both of us. I wasn't the only one who had been caught up in Rachel's mess. Emma had been trapped too in her own way, but now there was a shift. I don't know, I said, shaking my head. I never thought I'd feel so relieved. Like, she's so wrapped up in her own drama that she's forgotten about everything else. Emma's smile was faint, but there was something in it that made me feel like I wasn't alone. You don't need her anymore, Greg, and you're better off without it. I thought about Rachel and all the years I had spent trying to make her happy, trying to fix what was broken. But nothing ever stayed fixed. Not with her. It was like a broken record, the same patterns repeating over and over again. I've spent so much time trying to make sense of her, trying to fix it, I said, almost laughing bitterly. But it wasn't me. It was her all along. She never saw me, never appreciated what I gave. She only wanted control. And now she's trying to drag everyone else down with her, Emma added, her voice steady but laced with an edge I didn't hear often. But that's not your fight anymore. I realized she was right. The more I saw of Rachel's posts, the more I felt nothing. Not anger, not guilt, just nothing. The distance between her and me had grown so wide that I couldn't even remember why I'd been tangled in it for so long. I looked at Emma, and for the first time in a while, I felt something like peace. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it was real. I'm sorry you got dragged into this mess too, I said, my voice softer now. Emma shrugged, but her eyes were kind. It's not your fault, Greg, and I'm not going anywhere. I believed her, and that was something I hadn't felt in a long time. Someone who was sticking around for the right reasons, not because they were trying to fix me, but because they saw me, all of me. I finally started to let go of the guilt, of the idea that I owed Rachel something, that I had to clean up her mess. I was done. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't just done with Rachel. I was done with the whole idea of living in her world. I had more peace with Emma in 1 week than I'd had with Rachel in years. The difference was glaring. And for the first time in a long time, I was starting to think that maybe I could finally, truly move on. The days kept rolling by, and the chaos from Rachel's meltdown started to feel like a distant memory. It was strange, almost like I had stepped out of a storm and into a place where the air was clearer, the ground more stable. And a big part of that peace was Emma. We kept hanging out, more often than I had expected. It started casually, movies, dinners, walks, but slowly, I started to notice how different it felt with her. She wasn't just another person to pass the time with. She was something else, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Every conversation with her left me feeling lighter, like I was shedding all the things that had weighed me down for years. One night, after we'd gone to a small bar near her place, we sat outside, the summer air still warm, and Emma suddenly got quiet. She was fiddling with the edge of her drink, looking out at the dim streetlights like she was somewhere else. "What's on your mind?" I asked, leaning back in my chair, watching her. She hesitated, then gave a small, almost tired smile. "I've just been thinking about everything that's happened with Rachel. And, well, about me too." I raised an eyebrow, wondering where this was going. "What about you?" She met my eyes for a second, her gaze steady but not easy. "I spent years just standing in her shadow, you know? Always there to back her up, to fix whatever she broke, to be the one who just went along with whatever she wanted. I thought if I just kept doing that, she'd appreciate me. But it never worked. She never saw me." I swallowed hard. I didn't expect to hear this from her, but I understood. I knew what it was like to lose yourself in someone else's chaos, to keep giving and giving until you had nothing left. "I think I get it," I said quietly. "I've been there, giving everything, just to keep things from falling apart." Emma nodded, taking a deep breath. "It wears you down. After a while, I didn't even know who I was anymore. I was just Rachel's sidekick. And I thought if I just stayed loyal, if I just kept her happy, I'd find my place. But I lost myself in the process." Her words hit me harder than I expected. I knew Rachel had always been the center of attention, But I hadn't realized how much it had taken from Emma, how much she'd given up just to keep things running in Rachel's world. I thought back to my relationship with Rachel. It felt like a lifetime ago, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized how much it had drained me too. The constant trying to please her, trying to meet her expectations, trying to keep the peace. None of it had ever been enough. Rachel never seemed satisfied, never seemed to notice when I was drowning. And I had stayed. I had kept fighting for something that wasn't real, something I couldn't fix. I leaned forward, elbows on the table, letting the weight of it all sink in. I never realized how much I was giving up for her. I was so focused on trying to be what she needed, I never took a step back and asked myself what I needed, what I wanted. Emma looked at me, her expression softening. It's hard to see that when you're in the middle of it. But now that you're out of it, it's easier, right? I nodded slowly. It was hard to admit, but it was true. My relationship with Rachel had always been about her needs, her wants, and I had been so caught up in that I lost track of myself. But now I was starting to see what I needed, and that felt different. We stayed quiet for a few moments, just sitting there with our thoughts. The buzz of the bar around us felt miles away, like we were in our own little bubble. It was the most peaceful I'd felt in months, maybe even longer. Finally, Emma broke the silence. You're not the same person you were when you were with Rachel, Greg. You've changed. You've been through hell, but you're not that guy anymore. Her words struck me in a way I wasn't expecting. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I could feel it. How much I had changed, how much I had grown since Rachel. I wasn't that same guy who was just hanging on, trying to make things work in a relationship that never could. I wasn't the guy who felt small, who felt like I was drowning under the weight of someone else's needs. And the more I spent time with Emma, the more I realized how different this felt. There was no pressure, no expectations, just two people trying to figure things out. Yeah, I said quietly, more to myself than to her. I think I've changed too. We sat there for a while longer, the conversation drifting in and out, mostly lighthearted. But I knew something had shifted. It wasn't just about getting away from Rachel anymore. It was about moving towards something new, something better, maybe with Emma, maybe on my own. Either way, for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about the future. I wasn't sure where I was going yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going back to the past. I had finally let go. And for the first time in forever, I felt like I could breathe. Rachel's attempt to find herself didn't exactly go as planned. It wasn't like I was paying much attention to her anymore. But Emma kept me updated. She wasn't just watching from the sidelines. She was getting the front row seat to Rachel's slow-motion train wreck. Every time I checked in with Emma, she'd send me the latest in a long series of Rachel's failures. She went on a date with a guy who brought his mom. Not even kidding. Emma texted me one night, followed by a laughing emoji. I didn't laugh, though. It just made me feel kind of sad. Rachel had thrown herself into this series of half-hearted relationships, trying desperately to prove that she wasn't stuck, that she was fine without me. But it was clear now she wasn't fine. She was spinning in circles, grasping at anything that would keep her afloat. Each date she went on seemed more awkward than the last, with pictures popping up on her social media showing her fake smiles next to guys who clearly had no idea what they were getting into. But it wasn't just her dates. Her captions were growing more desperate by the day. This is what happens when you let people walk all over you. I deserve better than this. Just wanted to say sorry to anyone I've hurt. I'm just trying to find myself. Okay? I didn't even feel angry anymore. I just felt tired. Tired of watching her unravel. Tired of seeing her try to twist everything into a story where she was the victim. Then, one afternoon, I got a message from Tim, a friend of mine who had known Rachel from way back. Yo, you might want to hear this. Rachel's past is catching up to her. Some of the stuff she told people about her job. It's all coming out. Apparently, she made up a lot of what she told people about her career. I sat there, staring at the screen for a second, processing. I had always known Rachel liked to embellish things, to exaggerate the truth to make herself seem more important, but I didn't realize how deep it went. Apparently, she'd told people she had connections that she didn't, had lied about her role in certain projects. Tim even mentioned that she'd been claiming a position she never actually held. Her career was built on a foundation of lies, and now it was all falling apart. I felt nothing. There was no anger, no desire to get involved. It was just more proof that Rachel had been playing everyone, me included. And maybe, just maybe, I had dodged a bullet by walking away when I did. As much as I didn't want to get tangled up in her drama anymore, I couldn't ignore how her collapse affected everything around her. People had started to notice, to piece together her web of lies. I started hearing things through mutual friends, how her reputation was starting to tarnish. No one trusted her anymore, not even her closest circle. But what really struck me wasn't just the gossip. It was the fact that Rachel had pushed so many people away with her selfishness, her inability to see anyone but herself. She had burned every bridge she could, and now there was nothing left but the ashes of the life she'd tried to build. I thought about it sometimes, usually late at night when I was alone, when the world around me was quiet. I had spent so long trying to please Rachel, trying to be the guy who made things work, who could fix her. But in the end, she was the one who had broken everything. Not just with me, but with everyone. And it wasn't my fault. I'd spent years chasing someone who couldn't even see me. But now, with Emma, things were different. We were building something that felt solid, grounded. There was no pretense with her. No desperate need to perform, to pretend to be someone I wasn't. With Emma, I could just be myself. No games. No drama. One night, we were sitting in her living room, our legs tangled on the couch, a movie playing in the background that we were both ignoring. Emma was talking about her work, and I was listening, but honestly, I couldn't stop thinking about how far Rachel had fallen. "Does it bother you?" Emma asked suddenly, glancing at me as if she knew where my mind had drifted. I thought about it for a second. "It did at first," I said, my voice quiet. "I used to care a lot about making sure she was okay, about trying to fix things. But now, I don't know. It just feels like watching a car crash in slow motion. You can't do anything about it, and at some point you just stop looking." Emma nodded, her expression soft, but her eyes sharp. "I get it. You can only give so much before it breaks you. And you've already been broken for a while, Greg. It's good that you're starting to see that." I didn't say anything for a moment, just let her words settle. The weight of it was still heavy, but less so now. I wasn't the person I had been when I was with Rachel. That guy was gone, buried under all the lies and games. I was something else now, someone who could stand up for himself. Someone who wasn't going to keep chasing people who didn't deserve it. "I don't regret walking away from her," I said finally. "I regret not seeing it sooner, but I don't regret leaving." Emma smiled, a little sad but understanding. "I don't think you should regret it. You're here now, and that's what matters." I took a deep breath, feeling the truth of her words settle in my chest. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was starting to find my way forward. Not because of Rachel's downfall, but because I had found something real. And with Emma, I was beginning to realize that I didn't need to keep looking back. My future wasn't tied to Rachel anymore. It was mine to make. It happened on a Sunday. I remember because the sun was still hanging low in the sky, casting this soft light across the apartment, the kind that makes everything feel a little too calm, too quiet. Emma and I had just finished dinner. Simple stuff, nothing special. We were in the living room, talking about plans for the upcoming week when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Emma went to answer it, her brows furrowed when she saw who it was standing at the door. Rachel. She looked unhinged. Her makeup was smeared, her eyes red like she'd been crying for hours. Her clothes were wrinkled, and there was this desperate energy about her that I'd only seen in people who were on the verge of completely losing it. "Greg," she snapped, the moment she saw me. "You think you can just walk away? You think you can throw everything we had away like it was nothing?" I didn't respond, didn't even move. I was beyond done. Rachel shoved past Emma without any real apology, stumbling into the living room like she had every right to be there. She was shaking, her breath uneven. "You've ruined my life. You abandoned me for her." She pointed a shaky finger at Emma, who was standing by the door, her arms crossed, calm but clearly done with this nonsense. I didn't abandon you, Rachel. I left because I couldn't keep trying to fix something that was already broken, I said quietly, my voice steady. I was tired. I didn't feel any anger anymore. Just resignation. Rachel's face twisted, but her voice was a screech now, high-pitched. Oh, that's rich. You act like you're some kind of hero for leaving me, like you were too good for me. But you've replaced me with her. You think I didn't see it coming? This whole thing? You two, together, behind my back. Rachel? Emma cut in, her voice smooth but firm. I'm not interested in the drama anymore. You're not welcome here, and neither are your accusations. You're not going to drag us down with you. We're done. I could feel the weight of her words settle into the room. Rachel was, without a doubt, out of control. And Emma? She wasn't playing into it. She wasn't backing down. Rachel's face turned bright red, her hands clenching at her sides. She was breathing heavily now, each word coming out faster, more desperate. You can't just leave me like this, Greg. You're supposed to be my person. I needed you. I didn't flinch. I didn't feel the need to say anything more. Rachel had made it clear who she was all along, and it wasn't my responsibility to save her anymore. She wasn't my problem. Emma stayed where she was, quiet and firm, like a wall Rachel couldn't get through. You need help, Rachel, but it's not our job to fix you. You have to do that yourself. Rachel opened her mouth to argue, but I cut in. This isn't about me or Emma. It's about you. It's always been about you. But I can't be part of this anymore. Her eyes flickered toward me, and for a moment, I thought maybe she'd snap out of it, see the truth in what we were both saying. But no, she just backed up, her voice trembling. I don't need either of you. I'll show you both. I'll make everyone see what you did to me. I'll make sure they know the truth. I didn't even respond. It was pointless. Rachel had already made up her mind. Her truth was whatever fit her narrative, and she wasn't about to let reality get in the way. She turned abruptly, heading for the door, but before she left, she looked at me one last time. You'll regret this, Greg. You'll see. You'll all see. The door slammed behind her, and just like that, she was gone. I exhaled, as though I'd been holding my breath the entire time. The room felt quieter now, the tension dissipating as Emma walked over to me, placing a hand on my shoulder. You okay? She asked softly. I nodded. Yeah, I think I finally am. I didn't realize how tightly I'd been holding on to the idea of Rachel until that moment. She had always been a part of my life, whether I wanted her to be or not, and it wasn't until she stormed out of Emma's apartment that I truly understood how much she had weighed me down. I could feel it now, though, the weight lifting. For the first time in years, I wasn't burdened by Rachel's mess. I wasn't tangled in her drama. I didn't have to be the guy who cleaned up after her. You're really done with her, aren't you? Emma asked, reading the relief on my face. I think I've been done for a while, I said, more to myself than to her. But now I'm really done. We didn't need to say anything else. We didn't need to make big statements or promises. The silence that followed felt comfortable, warm, like the calm after a storm. I turned to Emma, giving her a small smile. Thank you for everything. She smiled back, her eyes soft. I'm just glad you're finally seeing things clearly. As the evening wore on, we didn't talk much more about Rachel. We didn't need to. What mattered now was us, what we were building, what we were starting together. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was in control of my own life, of my own happiness. And as much as Rachel tried to make me feel guilty, to make me doubt my decisions, I knew now. This was the right choice. I wasn't going back to the past. Not with her. And not with anyone who didn't see me for who I really was. I had finally broken free. 2 years passed. Time had a way of moving faster than I expected. And in that time, so much had changed. Emma and I were happy. Really happy. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, grounded in something I had never had with Rachel: mutual respect, trust, and space to just be who we were. Then, one afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. It was short, but the name at the top made my stomach drop. Rachel. Hey, it's Rachel. I know it's been a while, but I wanted to let you know that I've moved on. I'm getting married to a great guy. He's got a fancy career and a pretty big lifestyle. I'm really happy now. I hope you're doing well." I stared at the screen, my first thought being, really? After all this time, this is how she reaches out? But honestly, I felt nothing. No anger. No confusion. Just a quiet kind of relief. This wasn't the girl I had once been so desperate to keep. This wasn't the girl who controlled my thoughts, my life. I could almost hear Emma's voice in my head. "Don't get sucked back in. It's not your problem anymore." I hadn't heard from Rachel in ages. The fact that she felt the need to reach out now, 2 years later, was almost laughable. It wasn't about wanting me back. It was about showing me how well she was doing, how much better her life had turned out. I took a deep breath, opened the message again, and without hesitation, typed out my response. "Good for you. Hope it works out. Emma and I are doing great." That was it. No drama, no bitterness, just that. I sat back for a moment, staring at the screen, the weight of everything we had been through finally, truly falling away. The Rachel I had once tried so hard to save, the one who had twisted everything between us, was now nothing more than a distant memory. She had never been able to replace me, no matter how much she tried to build up this new life. Her obsession with status had always been her downfall. She thought that being with someone better, someone more polished, would somehow prove she was worth something. But it never filled the hole she had inside her. I let out a slow exhale, feeling lighter than I had in years. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was just done. I had moved on. Rachel's 24-hour challenge didn't break me, like she thought it would. Freed me. For the first time, I felt completely in control of my own happiness. I wasn't waiting for someone else to fix me or tell me I was enough. I was enough just as I was. I locked my phone, turned to Emma, who was sitting beside me, looking over a book she'd been reading. Her smile was soft, understanding, but she didn't need to ask anything. She just knew. I smiled back at her, my heart feeling light, like I could finally exhale after holding my breath for so long. "Everything okay?" she asked, her voice a soft whisper of concern. "Yeah," I said, my voice steady calm. "It's more than okay.